Thanks for tuning back in. Today we have another video for you. We're going to be doing a leveling kit for a F-150 Tremor. It's a 2022 model. This vehicle is the guy behind the camera, so we're going to get his vehicle outfitted with this kit. It's a Bilstein front shock 6112 model, and the rear shocks are the 5160. So we're going to go through the process. We want to get this 2 inches lifted in the front. The rear is going to stay the same, but we're going to show you how this all goes together and hopefully get the truck looking better. We're just going to go over a couple features of this kit. These are 2.6 inch housings. The factories are 2 inches. They also offer a snap ring, which allows you to adjust from stock ride height all the way up to 2.5 inches. The rear shocks, they have remote reservoirs for better performance, and looks like kits come with like new bump stops, all the hardware. So hopefully I have everything we need to get this kit installed. Instructions, stickers. Please read first, I will read that later. Let's get it installed in this kit. All right, after you get the tires off, next thing is remove this nut from the upper control arm. It's hard to fit a socket in here, so I'm using a wrench. Not even that tight. All right, we got the tie rod nut. This is a 21 millimeter. And there's 2 nuts on the bottom of the strut here. These are both 18 millimeter also. So if these joints don't free up after you take the nut off, sometimes just take a hammer and just shock the outside here and I'll free it right up. Just like that. We should have done this first, 10 millimeter. There we go. All right, with all that out of the way, the last 3 nuts are right on the top here. There's 3 on the top here. Looks like there's a harness you got to pull off. All right, so we got to remove the 3 nuts on the top as the last step to get it out. Recommend using the medium-sized socket because the deep ones, it'll be harder to get it out, and then the shallow one won't fully engage the nut. So now that everything's loose, the shock should be ready to come out. One last thing we do though is to get it out, it's usually wedged in there pretty good and you can't pull it down, so we pound these studs back out, up through the top, and then it should allow us to get it out easier. All right, to get these studs out, we had to get an air hammer. I usually like to put these nuts back on so it keeps the air hammer centered on the bolt. These are all getting replaced anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we do to them. So let's see if we can get it out with the air hammer. There we go, finally. We're
talking about? I thought you liked it here.
As you can tell, it's a working shop here, so sometimes we get some noise violations in our videos here, so yeah, thanks MM Noah. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, and we're gonna take them down to our spring compressor and show you how to do that. We're going to get this mounted in the spring compressor and swap out the shock. For all the do-it-yourselfers out there, this is the most critical step. This is the most dangerous part. Always make sure you got a really good, secure mounting on this spring because this could be deadly. Take this little cap off the top here. We're going to go ahead and tighten this. All right, so we got it loosened up, but I'm just going back just a little bit so that the spring's putting enough pressure I can spin this nut off. All right, so we're gonna release this top nut. Put more pressure on it. All right, last thing before removing the shock is make sure the orientation's right. See, there's like a slight angle this way on this one here. You just want to make sure that this matches how your strut mount's set up at the time, because this does not twist. So it's got to match the strut mount where it mounts in the frame, and then at the bottom where it mounts in the control arm. All right, so the next step before we install the shock, we got to remove this snap ring all the way up to groove number 5, which is 2 inches on the 3.5 EcoBoost. So we go ahead and just spread it open.
There we go.
There. Make sure it's fully seated all the way around. And you can see there's a little groove in this mount or spring support. So we're gonna go ahead and slide that down. Gonna lock that snap ring from ever coming out too. And then we got our bump stop. So we gotta mount it small end down. All right, time to go back together. All right, so we're gonna take the upper strut mount off. Then we're gonna go ahead and loosen this, take the spring out. Got the new spring sitting in the spring compressor. We're gonna tighten this up so we can put the strut mount and shock in here. All right, we got the spring seat on. C-clips in the right spot. Bump stop on. Gonna slide it up through here. Go ahead and start the nut. All right, scary part's over now. It's a little sketchy. Go ahead and tighten this nut. Make sure the strut stays in the right orientation. Put a little bit of pressure on it. That orientation looks pretty dang close. Should be good. Take it out. All right, do the same thing with the other side. We're about ready to put the strut back in. Just a quick little tip here. This control arm, as you can see, it's like up higher, and it's almost impossible to get the strut in without lowering this. But if you twist this around, you can see how it lowers like that. See how it go like, you want to pull this, as you slide in the top, pull this over, and then it'll pop right in. We'll show you right now. So get it lined up in the top. Use a little trick. Look at that, right in. All right, so next step comes with these bolts here. Put these in through the lower arm, both sides. Nuts go on the bottom. So it's not like the factory ones, which are like splined into the shock. You'll actually have to hold the top part when we're tightening these. And we'll come and double check the torque on those later. Next, we're gonna put the 3 strut mount nuts on the top. All right, so we gotta connect the upper ball joint first. I'm gonna bring this over. Need a second hand on this. Get over here, Danny. There we go. Perfect. Might need a second hand with that one. So we're gonna tighten this nut. It's an 18 millimeter, but then we have an 8 millimeter to hold this so it doesn't spin on us. Next is the tie rod. Slide it through the knuckle. I got a 21 millimeter socket. All right, that's spinning, so we got to hold that one too. Last step, gotta connect this bracket back to the knuckle here. It's one 10mm bolt. We're just gonna go ahead and torque all these nuts, and then we're gonna start on the back. We're onto the rear shocks now. We're gonna remove this rear wheel just so you can see what we're doing, but you don't technically have to remove it. It's one of the simplest parts we've ever videoed here. There's 2 bolts, one on the top, one bottom. On both of them, it's a 15 and an 18. And just leave the bolt in there so you can hold it. There we go. Next, we got to mount this reservoir to the shock. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. Just test fitment and make sure that it's not going to hit anything in the full suspension travel, and you'll be good to go. We're going to mount it just like this. So this is going to be facing forward. And then got to cut this strap, put these in here, and tighten up the hose clamp. So we'll show you how to do that. You can space them however you want. It's a lot easier if you use a ratchet and a socket. Open these all the way up so I can slide it under here. Got these all tightened up. There's a little excess clamp here. We're gonna go ahead and just trim this off. You need that on there to be able to get it started, but now that's all tightened, we don't plan on ever doing anything with this, so we're just gonna cut these off. Time to put the shock in. There's really no right or wrong way like we were saying earlier, but we decided to mount this facing forward. We thought it looked the best, and there's definitely no clearance issues. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in. Start the bolt. That through, and then we're gonna put this nut back here, which technically you don't need to hold. It should hold in place when you tighten it. And before we tighten the top, we're gonna go ahead and start this bottom bolt. Might have to push it in a little bit. There we go. All right, now just gotta tighten them up. All right, we'll just verify the torque on those, and then repeat the same on the other side, and the suspension gets all installed.